No! No! You! But I want to. There's the bell. Woo woo! You know, I'm sure you noticed that Percy is not here. He has a cold. He's not here. But Bennett's here, and he has a Santa hat on his head, so that's 3, right?
If I can keep it on my head. Literally, no, we were starting.
I know. Go. I have my Snoopy Santa shirt on. You're like, what's with all the Christmas stuff? It's because we're going to be talking about the episode, A Christmas Tori. A Christmas Tori. I actually have notes because I'm an old lady. How you doing, Bennett?
I'm great. I am holding the hat on my head and keeping that together. So
yeah,
as long as the hat stays on my head, we are good as gold.
Welcome to Senior World. We're always trying to hold on to our heads.
How are you, Marilyn?
I'm good. You had a great weekend, right? What happened? Tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. I went to Party 101 with Matt Bennett, and we've been, not only did we interview Matt because he was our very first guest, but we've been talking about it on the show, and to get to witness that for the first time in person was just incredible. I mean, seeing everybody come together, I think, was just such a beautiful thing. Seeing Matt come alive, working the crowd. He's an impeccable host.
Oh, he's amazing. He is chill.
Yeah, chill, but also just has all the energy in the world. Jumps into
I don't
the
know
crowd.
how he does it. I got tired just looking at him. It's like
he says he changes his shirts. I don't know how many times during the show, but
it's true. He has one of those little suitcases when you take a flight with the wheels, and it's full of t-shirts. He has to change.
Yeah,
because he's moving, he's sweating, he's getting it done.
And shout out as well to Erin Constantine, his opener, because
she's so cool.
So cool, so nice. Everybody, his whole crew is so kind, and they really just know how to make people smile. I feel like that's what Party 101 is all about, keeping the legacy alive of not only Victorious, but all these shows that were part of my childhood, and everybody who attends these shows. You know, we got to meet people in line. I went with my girlfriend, Lorraine, and we got to know a lot of other fans. You may not know somebody, but you know the same shows. So that is what's really cool about being in the same room with literally hundreds of people that you've never met before.
And they're singing. Don't forget the singing.
Oh, I'm telling you, not only are they singing back the words of the songs, but he incorporates scenes from the show, lines from the show. So they're not just singing back lyrics to songs. They're saying back like lines from the show, Victorious.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. It really is. We have to do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, we do.
Because it's just too much. You can create a tease about when that's coming up because it deserves it. I was there as a performer, as Andre's grandma. You were there as an observer. So between the two of us, tell that Santa to behave. Between the two of us, I know that's a podcast. That's something. Yeah, we'll tease some more
friends along too, and we can have a whole party.
Let's do it. You promise?
I promise.
Okay. All right. So now we'll get back to business. I've said it a couple of times. The episode was called A Tori Christmas, right?
Tori.
A Christmas Tori. I'm so old.
It's clever though how it's like a Christmas story, but a Christmas
a Christmas Tori. They dropped the S. Dan was clever like that. He came up with a lot of clever things. But it was interesting because in this episode, I actually found one of my old scripts and I actually read it. So to recollect, Santa down, the hat fell off.
Again.
Yeah, again. I won't say it every time because Santa's an attention seeker. I think he's jumping off Bennett's head.
This is victoriously crazy. We keep rolling with whatever happens.
That's right. No matter
like a
what
live show,
happens.
even though it's not live.
Yeah, it's not, but that Santa hat is. So, so it starts off where Psychowitz has them in the classroom as usual, and they're talking about doing a Secret Santa. I've done those. Have you done a Secret Santa before, Bennett? Do you know
what that is?
Lots of
fun, yes.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get, and you don't know who's giving it to you. I guess that's what makes it fun. But he's talking to the students about that. And Andre starts off where he's a little annoyed because he got a D from a teacher for a Christmas song that he wrote. But I'm just saying that because it's going to tie in later with the episode. But basically where my scene comes in is Tori invites Andre's grandma to come over to her house to sit down and talk with her because she is the secret Santa for Andre and she doesn't know what to get him. You know, we've all had that kind of friend, right? Where we don't know what to get them, right? So you reach out to someone that knows them. And unfortunately for her, it's Andre's grandma that she has to reach out to. It's like, I guess I got to ask her. So, you know, she invites her over to the house, which I thought was kind of bold on her part because everybody know the lady's crazy, right? She's like, she's out there, right? I mean, she's crazy. But she drives, so she knows how to, you know, she's over there. She's coming. And it starts with her on the phone with her, telling her how to get there and everything. And so she drives over. She hears she's there, but Tori doesn't know she's there. She hears a noise. She goes outside and her bushes start rattling like there's a animal in there or something, right? It's like... This show is so funny. And that woman's so crazy. Because you know what happens. She's in the bushes. Oh, yes. Right? She's in the bushes. She jumps out. She screams and she rushes past Tori and whoever else. I think it's Trina. I'm not sure. But she rushes past them. Plops down on the couch. And they're like, oh, wow. What's up with that? The crazy thing that I liked about that scene is she thought it was Gary Busey in her bushes. You know, around that time, he was in the news for doing a lot of kind of crazy stuff, you know, and I think Dan tapped into that and he kind of made that part of the script, you know, because she's like, Mr. Busey, are you like in my bushes again? And then it turns out to be Andre's grandma who come busting out like a wild raccoon or something. And she just runs and goes into the house, sits down on the couch. And Tori tells her, I have to get a present for Andre and maybe you can help me. And what does Andre grandma say? Oh, that's nice. She says, I hate Christmas. I hate Christmas. And she says it with the same crazy passion that she says everything else, which is usually no more than 3 or 4 words. And that kind of ties into this whole episode because I'm telling you about this scene, but you did not see this scene on TV because this scene was cut. They did not use Andre's grandma in this episode at all. At all. They decided to go a totally different way. And actually, it was an answer to a blessing for me because I am a Christian and I was not comfortable with saying, I hate Christmas and saying it in the way that they wanted me to say it. I mean, like, I really hate Christmas. Like, I hate Christmas. Like, I hate the devil. You know, that type of thing. They wanted me to say it with a lot of emotion. And I actually prayed on that. I didn't feel comfortable. That if I had to count the moments I didn't feel comfortable doing something as an actress, that would be kind of at the top of the list. But the problem solved itself. I'm going to move on with how the script worked out, and then I'll tell you what happened. So Tori is surprised, of course, when Andre's grandma says, I hate Christmas. Like, who hates Christmas? You know, why would she say that? And then she goes on a rant about if some fat guy in a red suit comes down her chimney and comes into her house, she's going to crack him on the head with a baseball bat. You know, yes. That was a funny scene, though. And when she said that, I'm thinking, I kind of visualize that, like, here comes Santa, and then next thing you know, he's getting hit upside the head with a bat. He's probably thinking, this is not milk and cookies. What the you know? And she's having this conversation about what she would do to Santa Claus. Robbie's over there because Trina invited him over to help, you know, decorate the Christmas tree. And he comes over because he thinks that means she likes him. But of course she doesn't. But, you know, Robbie, played by Matt Bennett, was willing to do anything to have the attention of a pretty girl. You know what I mean? And Tori even like, she doesn't like you, right? And you say, that's okay. Maybe things will change. I'll do whatever she tells me to do to get this tree decorated. So I don't mind. So what happens is in the meantime, he was out in the garage trying to get some ornaments or something like that for Trina to bring inside. So Andre's grandma didn't see him. She was comfortable with Tori. She knew Trina was working on the tree, so I guess she didn't feel threatened or anything. So she did her rant, And what did she say she's going to do to Santa Claus? Do you remember, Bennett?
Oh my gosh!
Hit him in the head.
I'm not.
Didn't really see. I don't feel so bad.
No. I do not recall for some reason.
She was going to hit Santa in the head with a baseball bat.
Yes.
That's what she was having in her discussion that she was going to do. So when Robbie walked in and, saying, oh, I got the ornaments, and she saw him and she freaked out. And of course she jumped up, she ran out. But when she headed for the door to run out, and she snatched open the door and just kind of slammed it, the door got damaged because she went with such a force as she was leaving, because she doesn't leave like normal people. She's like a hurricane. She just I did a lot of running on that show. Oh yeah, I did a lot of running. But you know what, they didn't know it, but I used to be a jogger. Oh yeah, I used to jog around a city block 9 times.
Training for Victorious, not even.
That's right. Didn't even know it, man. I was training for a perfect movie role. Yeah, I was. I didn't even know it. I wish I had found a way to put in the training jumping over dog poop. Because
hey, when they leave the bag there, it's not as bad as stepping in it, but people that just like leave the little bags on the street. Yeah.
Well, here in LA, they actually have. I digress, but they do have posts with a box with the bags. They give you bags.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
nice.
Because they figure you can't use that excuse.
Yeah.
They actually have them on a pole. Look who's back. We're talking about poop, and here comes that Santa hat. Yeah.
I guess he was intrigued. I don't know.
He missed us. He wants to come back. His beard's kind of pointed up for the people that can't see it. This is a hat. It's like white. It has a Santa face on it, and the face on top of it has the red traditional, hat with the little white ball on the end. But it's funny. Bennett has it on his head, and it fits in with the title of the show and everything. But that Santa has a mind of its own. It just keeps trying to flop on and off. But whenever it comes and goes, we welcome it, because that's how Christmas is. You don't see it that often, and when it comes, you're happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hat gets the same treatment, right?
It goes by quickly, so when you see it on, just like Christmas, it's here and then it's gone.
Yeah, it could just fall off at any moment, but it'll be back. It'll be back, just like every year. So back to Andre's grandma. She runs out that door. She crashes through the door, actually splinters the door as she heads out. And that's my scene. That was it. It was the table read was short. The rehearsals and run-throughs was short. It wasn't that much to it. What I said, a couple of lines about I hate Christmas, and then a few lines about how I would assault Santa Claus, and that was basically it. Yeah, acting, man, you gotta love it.
I remember the runner about Trina having Christmas beef. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and that was Kat. Kat had a brother. Her brother, I think, would go steal the beef, and then he would prepare it like in a certain way. And I think she even wanted to make that be a Secret Santa gift. But it tasted good, apparently, because I think she brought it to class and people were eating it.
But then it messed them up.
Yeah. Yeah, they would get the runs or something. Something would happen afterwards. It tasted good at the moment. Then later on, they paid the price.
Like probably a lot of fast food. You have it now. You enjoy it in the moment, and then you're regretting it on the toilet the next day.
Yeah, but see, that's why you down a couple of Tums with it when you eat it. Andre couldn't accept the D grade that he got on the Christmas song that he wrote. He's a very good songwriter and singer and everything, and he probably never got a D in his life. So he decides to talk to the teacher that gave him the D grade. The teacher's name was Anthony. That's Percy's middle name. It's Percy Anthony Smith. And I was like, I never noticed this before as I'm rereading the script. I'm like, oh, there's another connection on the show. Because Andre's grandma, her name is Harris, Charlotte Harris. Yeah, that's crazy. Now the teacher that doesn't respect the talent of Andre, his name is Anthony. And he tries to talk to him. It doesn't work out. You know how Dan Schneider's scripts work. They're funny, they're quick, the interaction is quick, but they're significant. They mean something. And in that quick little scene that he had with him, he was telling him he didn't think he deserved the D, but the teacher said, I just don't like the song. So that pivots back to the problem that Tori has, what to get Andre. Well, her nemesis Jade, the person that doesn't like her, who actually got some scissors from her Secret Santa, and she said she implied she was gonna use them on Tori, because there were scissors from a movie where a girl cuts up her two friends, and she says, "Oh wow, this is so cool! I'm gonna use these." And Tori's like, "What?" There was always that weird energy. Did you notice that about the show?
With Tori and Jade?
Two? Yeah, they had a weird energy.
I know. It's like, as actors, they worked really well together, but their characters were not supposed to like each other.
They did not. They did not like each other, their characters. And it was funny how they played off on that, because I personally am such a Pollyanna. I got the sense Jade wanted to like her, but she was such a goody two-shoes in the way she got into school, and she had this talent she didn't know she had. I think that kind of prevented her, from accepting her and liking her, because it was too much. Sometimes our shine is just too bright.
Yeah. As it progressed, I actually felt like maybe they were inching closer to a friendship. It just never kind of reached that. Who knows? Maybe they'd I feel like if they were in college together, they would go on to be good friends. They'd hang out together, and who knows?
Especially if they were from the same town and they didn't know anybody else, they would kind of be forced.
Oh yeah.
To be friends in that atmosphere.
They'd bond over if they're similar people, but everybody else around them is different.
It's different. That would be a good way to do a pilot. And it's funny because even though they didn't necessarily were very good friends, Jade gave Tori a solution to her problem of what to give Andre for his Secret Santa gift, which is to perform Andre's song in front of the teacher so the teacher could hear it. I guess he just submitted it in musical form on paper or something. I don't know how they do it, or maybe he sang it himself, but he got to see it in a different way, because this is a way where all the cast got together and they all sang the song, right? Because there's always going to be singing and dancing in a Victorious episode.
If I could give a little quick shout out, this is not just a shout out to my Party 101 weekend, but also just for you guys that are fans of Victorious, which obviously you are if you're here. But Lane Napper, aka Lane, the guidance counselor from Victorious, was at Party 101. It was incredible to meet him, and he choreographed the musical numbers on Victorious. There's a video on his TikTok, if you follow at Real Lane Napper, where he has a behind the scenes clip from them rehearsing for A Christmas Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Could you connect that link to this podcast?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I will. I'll find it and I'll link it, because it's basically Lane's voice in the background. I don't think you can see him, but Ariana, Liz, and Victoria are all on the stage, and there's some directors and stuff in the background blocking the scene, because they're learning the choreography, and there's Lane, and he's teaching them the dance moves for the song.
I would click that link to see it myself.
Yeah.
Because I was always fascinated by the singing and the dancing. That's hard work. I've sang in my church choir, and you don't just say, oh, you go, oh, I mean, you work. Singing is not easy.
Lane is such a crucial member of the team that made Victorious happen, because, I mean, you've always said singing and dancing, those are two of the key ingredients. Dancing is what brings a performance to life. I mean, if you're just standing still, even if it's not necessarily dance moves per se, just choreography, that is what brings a performance to life and makes it entertaining beyond just the vocal performance. So of course, hats off go to the songwriters that write the songs and the actors who can also sing.
Right.
But to be able to take that and turn it into a show on stage is something that is just remarkable. That's part of what makes Victoria special. And he did the same thing for iCarly and Drake and Josh when they had musical numbers. Of course, they weren't as frequent, but anytime that you saw a musical number on either of those shows, Lane was responsible. So
I'd love to talk to him in a podcast. What a talented man, because dancing is a vision. When you come up with those steps, I'm old school, so I grew up listening to the Temptations, the Spinners, Whispers, groups like that where they all wore the same suits and, they all had the stylistics, the same steps. And, if there's anybody with an old soul or that like to listen to music of back in the day, that type of thing, that's what groups did back then. They would tend to dress alike, and they would have the dances and the steps, and singing and dancing at the same time is not easy. It's a skill, man. That's awesome. So did he do any dancing himself at the Party 101? What did he do?
Yes. He came out on stage and taught the audience a little bit of choreography.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think I don't want to give too much away, because if you haven't been to a Party 101 show, you have to go. And
yes,
I don't know if this is not Lane's first appearance. So who knows? He may reappear. So I don't want to give away everything. Yeah. But I'll just leave it at that. So if you go to Party 101, I'm sure you can find out from other people that have been to this show if you want to know like what song it was and what the dance was. But yes, and Matt, of course, is so awesome to include these people and make sure that we all know, what they brought to the
He's
show.
Brilliant. I mean, he included an old lady like me, and all I do is run and act crazy. And he included me. I mean, you can get that on the LA subway, man. You can get that on the LA subway. You can get that on a LA subway.
But how loud was that crowd though when you walked out on stage?
Definitely.
In Anaheim.
It was. I actually turned into Andre's grandma for real. I was like, what is this?
No, because I get a little overwhelmed with a lot of noise, which is, I was lucky with where I was able to sit because it wasn't like crazy close. So to be around that much noise, which I mean, what an honor that they're all applauding for you, but man, I mean, that is incredible.
It's mind blowing. You forget they're applauding for you. You're like, what the?
But then you watch it back and you're like, wow, look at that.
You're like, wow. Yeah. It is an experience, and it's good to have the experience from all aspects. That's why it's going to be good that we do a podcast on that, because you were networking, you were there as a guest, you had a good time. I don't want to give away too much, but all we can both say is we love Matt Bennett, and I am just very impressed with what he's doing. And it all started with an idea that turned into a vision, which he put into action, which any of us could do. Any of us, if we have an idea, something that's unique, and we have the ability and the power and the drive and the hard work inside of us to do it. I mean, ideas start off with you saying something to someone, they'd be like, yeah, and then you don't let that stop you. You just go further, which is kind of pivots back to this whole episode story. Andre did not like the fact that Anthony gave him a D on his music, and he couldn't let it go. Tori had to find a unique gift for him as a Secret Santa. Jade, who is not that crazy about her and they're bumping heads, gave her the idea, which is to get them to perform in front of this teacher so he could hear the song in a different way, be presented to the song, which would help, with that grade, which it did, because he ended up, after they performed the song, and which kind of got us talking about Lane, the song that he choreographed, they danced, they sang. The teacher loved it, and he decided to switch the D to an A. So Yeah. You know, when I was in school, I tried it once. My mother wasn't that stupid. I tried to turn a D into an A. I just put a line there, you know.
Oh my God.
So
you have like a squarish A, right?
That's right. It was a fat A, you know. I mean, who hasn't tried that? You know, especially when you're like, what, in elementary school, junior high. You think you're smarter than everybody. Do it, you know.
Do it. Like Percy says.
That's right. That's right. He may not be here, but he's not forgotten. So anyway, after Tori got the group to sing this song and do all this, and Andre got his A, everybody was happy. Then they had to judge the challenge, which was whoever gave the worst Secret Santa gift had to go yodeling with a bunch of people that they considered like weirdos or losers, which happened to include Gary Busey and Liza Minnelli. I don't know what was going on with Gary Busey at that time, but he was kind of lumped in with the loser group. And that ended up being Psychowitz because he gave a cricket to the girl he was supposed to give the gift to. And that was another part of the storyline. Beck could not stay awake because he had a cricket in his trailer and he couldn't sleep at night, so he was consuming a lot of coffee. That was happiness for Beck because he could sleep. It was happiness for Psychowitz because he apparently didn't have anything to give this girl, so he gives her a cricket, which is the worst gift you could give somebody. So he ends up doing the yodeling Christmas singing, which was the last scene. My part never aired. It was weird because like I said, I was troubled about saying I hate Christmas, but I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go say to the writer, I don't like that line. I don't want to say it or anything like that. That's something you should never do as an actor. You figure out a way to deal with it and you work it, you work it out some kind of way. My way of dealing with it is I just prayed on it. I just said, God, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't like saying these words. It basically, to me, feels like I'm saying I hate Christ, and that's so not me. So I leave it in your hands. So the very next day, when we came in, because I think it kind of involved a 2-day thing, because it was such an involved episode that the director came up to me and he said, we have some bad news. And I was like, sure, what is it? And he says, even though you spent all day filming yesterday, we decided not to use that. We decided it took up too much time, which didn't make sense because it was such a short piece. But he said they decided it took up too much time. They weren't going to even use Andre's grandma in that episode, that I could leave, but they would pay me for a full day. So I got 2 days paid for like 1 day's work. And he's like, I hope you're not upset, and all this kind of thing, but that that's kind of the way it is. And inside I'm like, yeah, but I was like, oh, that's okay, I understand, and they were happy I was understanding, and I was happy I didn't have to say I hate Christmas.
But you got a Christmas bonus, it sounds like.
I did. You're so smart, Bennett. I did get a Christmas bonus. I did. And I didn't care about people not knowing that I was in that episode or that my part had been cut. Because if you're a true actor, you could end up on the editing floor anyway. They could have just as easily just edited that part out. But I don't, which they did anyway, because they didn't use it. But it was funny because I guess they liked the part about the bushes, someone being in the bushes, because it turned out to be Gary Busey in the bushes. It was funny. It was funny, but it had a tinge of creepiness to it because there's a teenage girl there, 2 teenage girls, and he's in the bushes. And if that was during this time, that would be creepy, because what was it? Okay, 13 years ago, it's totally not okay now. It's things are totally different. Oops, even my phone don't like it. So did you hear it?
That'd be an interesting podcast to go through every episode and be like, okay, this wouldn't fly today. This wouldn't fly today. This wouldn't fly today. Yeah. What would you have left?
We might have stumbled on something though, because you're always trying to come up with different ideas when you're doing these type of things like these podcasts and things like that. You never know.
Every single show that was made probably even like 2 years ago, you could say, oh, well, in 2 years, like now we can't say this because the world is constantly changing.
And so sensitive. The world's so sensitive these days. It's like, I mean, it's a totally different time. You know, you could go out in that Santa hat and somebody might be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's so awkwardly placed in my head. I don't even know if people can tell. By the way, the yodelers you mentioned, one of them, this guy named Tristan Daly. He is not really an actor. His role on the show, as many other of Dan's shows, was assistant art director.
Oh.
So he worked behind the scenes very heavily to help with the sets and the design.
Okay.
And he's known for creating one of the big set pieces on iCarly. Spencer had, it was called a bottle bot. I can show you after what it looked like. It's like
I would like
giant
to see that
robot sculpture that Spencer made. And it's
wow.
like very iconic with the show's history. And Tristan has worked on all these different shows, and a lot of crew members, they appear when they need like a one episode role, or sometimes they appear multiple times in different characters.
That's cool.
For someone.
Yeah. Because why cast? Why go through the whole casting process when, I mean, if you could see how many people are behind the camera, it's more than a choir. And I'm sure there's people that are willing to be in front of the camera for whatever particular need that they have. That's who operated Rex. The voice of Rex was a crew member, from what I understand.
Yeah, a writer, Jake Farrow.
A writer. That's right. So the guy that created the bottle bot, and was he a yodeler? Is that the point you were about to make?
When the scene where they were, I forget how the song even went, but you mentioned them, and I know it was. I think, was it the same scene with Gary in the bushes where there were like a bunch of yodelers?
Yeah, he was one of them. I don't know if he jumped out of the bushes, or I know at one point he did jump out of the bushes, but I know Psycho Witch specifically had to go with the yodelers because he lost the bet, because he gave the worst Secret Santa gift, and it was a specific song that they had to yodel and had to sing, and that was in scene. That was the last thing that they did. So that's pretty cool. They had somebody that was actually into yodeling in that scene. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know what, if these people have experienced yodeling before. I think it's more that they just had a certain look, I think.
I don't know. I would see a yodeler as someone with long hair, preferably
Tristan,
blonde.
Very long hair.
Suspenders and short dockers and a white shirt with suspenders and hiking boots. I'm telling you, it was a lot of people around.
Yeah.
And when you're working and you're focusing on getting your scene down, you block all that out. You don't really see them. But I remember they were very friendly. Mm-hmm. They were all very, very cool people. I've even prayed with some of them. Everybody knew what my faith was, so we would have talks. We would pray over problems or whatever. And I would even ran into one or two of them. One of them I really remember I ran into when Percy filmed Two Broke Girls, mm-hmm. and he was working with that crew, and he came over like, Marilyn, how you doing? I was like, hey, how you doing? And for a second I couldn't remember who he was, and then it clicked. You know how that happens.
Yeah.
And we started talking. I was like, oh, Victorious, because I mean it. They move on, and that was like 13 years ago or more, or it's amazing. All these people are grown. I even heard Sinjin is a director now, or mm-hmm. he's in some kind of way involved, and
he's doing acting classes again for kids. Thinking
of getting into
making Disney stuff. Mikey Reed.
Well, he has the credibility, since he was doing it himself.
Yeah.
That's the thing I believe makes creative so special. Mm-hmm. They don't get in a rut. If something ends, they just keep rolling into the next thing. Yeah. That's acting basically, or any entertainment job.
Yeah.
You can't get stuck and say, well, back back in such and such, says a lady who's doing a podcast on something back in such and such. But, you know, but I still act. I still audition. I still act in other things. And I think it's sweet when I get messages or comments saying, have you ever thought about acting in something else? I must be so convincing at Andre's grandma. They think that's the only thing I do. But I have done commercials and, you know, different things, other things. I have an agent. Percy and I have actually filmed a commercial together. And it's... acting is acting. It's just that Victorious is one of the things that stood out that I did for a while that got a lot of recognition, and it was fun. You know, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing this.
Would you say as an okay, Senna's going crazy. Would you say as an actor that filming episodes that end up on the cutting room floor, it's a part of the process, and you're just kind of there enjoying the craft of acting, that it's more about the experience of working with other actors and you know, kind of improving every time that you step onto the set, as opposed to like worrying as to whether or not people will see it? Or is there still a sense of like, oh, I hope people do actually get to witness what I've been working on?
I think it's the first one. I think the success is being booked.
Yeah.
And actually being booked, actually making it to set, actually filming, because there's so many steps along the way where something could change and it doesn't happen. When you're to the point where you're thinking about it, getting to the editing room floor, you're missing the blessings that came before that, because there are so many steps. But that, you know, we talked about that. Maybe we'll do a acting 101 podcast, you know, because it's so many aspects and steps to it that you're not aware of, from just getting the audition itself, you know, to all the steps from that. And it doesn't start with the audition. You have to be on a casting website. You have to be in a position for someone to even see you, to know that they want to put you in their project. So it's there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of rejection, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of different things, which kind of goes back to this whole episode and the way I chose to look at it. I felt really blessed that I did not have to say those words. I respect any words that any writer says in anything that they trust me to convey as a character, but also I have to be true to myself as an individual. Just like, you know, there's a lot of actresses that will not do nudity under any circumstances. Zendaya is one of them. You'll never see her doing that type of thing in her acting, because as an individual, that's a line that she won't cross. I even told my agent that I will not say curse words. How am I going to be saying the F word, the B word, saying all these curse words, then go to church, you know, and somebody seen that and they like, oh, okay. So when it comes to the money, and I worked it out with my agent, where if there's a word I'm not comfortable saying, make up a curse word. You could say frickety. You could say, you know, barnyard or anything. You could say, you know, you could say something crazy without being totally offensive. And a lot of times, especially if it's something for television, they'll give you a script filled with profanity, knowing darn well that's not what they're going to film, because it wouldn't be allowed to be said on a television program. But I think they're more interested in the acting. I even had a casting director tell me that it's more about the acting than what you say or how you handle it. It's there's always these little things, little nuances to it that you have to deal with. You have to keep pushing. And if you don't get it, it's not meant for you. And then sometimes they respect that. They're not even thinking about that. You still get it. It's just, it's basically the vision and how you look. That's acting. So that worked out for me. That worked out for me because I prayed on it. I didn't have to say it. I was totally cut out of that. The episode was funny. It was a funny episode. They did it anyway. You know, it wasn't like they weren't going to do it because I wasn't there. It didn't have anything to do with me. It's all about vision. And I actually was able to add that as a story of faith, a story of a prayer being answered. Big prayers, little prayers, all of them matter.
As a happy ending.
It was a happy ending. It was. And somebody else got to jump out the bushes. So so that's it. That's I don't know. I'm not motivated to do an act out on this episode. It's a motivation thing that, you know how Percy said it just comes through. But maybe it didn't come to me because I didn't do anything. I wasn't in it. And how do you act out on I hate Christmas? You know, I think that Santa hat took care of that. You know what? It never hit the floor. It was like an egg. You would only let it get so far.
Earbuds would have been more comfortable, but entertainment is all about keeping people on their toes, being unpredictable, and not playing it safe.
And being victoriously crazy. So I think that's a good place to end this podcast. You may as well do the rest because this old bird right here is tired.
Are you talking about you or Larry? Larry's somewhere in the corner. I know he is.
He's outside looking for bird seed. I'm talking about me.
I always wonder, where's Larry? Where's he flying around? If you guys enjoy this podcast, make sure you follow us, Instagram, TikTok, Victoriously Crazy Podcast. You know, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or whatever, leave us a review. It really helps us out. You can subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, do the same. Leave us a comment. We really appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Marilyn, anything else?
No, you did a brilliant job. I need a nap. Well, thank you very much, Bennett. You're the best production supervisor in the world. I appreciate you. And until we meet again for another podcast.